Welcome into another episode of The Locker Room. I'm your host, Will Kronsberg, joined once again today by Braden Maloy, and we are going to talk baseball this week. We're starting it off with the MLB. Obviously, spring training started a few weeks back, and we are about 3 weeks from opening day. Lots of excitement. And Braden, why don't we talk about some of the new faces in the MLB, or new faces in new places, players who changed teams over the offseason. Who are you most excited to see in their new home?
Well, you talked about it. A lot of people changed places this offseason, and there are big-name people that got contracts. George Springer goes from the Astros to the Blue Jays. I think adding a veteran presence from Springer to a team of Bichetti and Guerrero Jr. and Biggio and Teoscar Hernandez, I think that makes a strong core for that team. I think that veteran presence, Springer's been to World Series, he's won a World Series. I think that could help bring that level of kind of calm and stress-free baseball they can play throughout the year in the AL, which is usually pretty stacked in that division with the Rays and the Yankees along with them. You also have people like Arenado, who's played his entire career in Colorado, is now in St. Louis. And now, while his bat is a steady bat, it's really his defense that you got to look at. 8-time Gold Glove winner, multiple-time Platinum Glove winner. Him on the hot corner secures that whole side of the field, really. But I'm really excited to watch. It's kind of cliche, but Bauer in LA. I mean, the rich get richer, right? They got Kershaw and Walker, and now they got Bauer, and they got Mookie Betts in the outfield, and Justin Turner. It's crazy what they're doing out there, and I think it's just going to be more dominance from the Dodgers.
Absolutely. When you talk about the Dodgers, you're looking at a team that they struggled at times in the playoffs, but by the time they got to the World Series, they looked probably the strongest they had in months. You add Trevor Bauer to a rotation that includes Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw. You add in a young guy like Dustin May or Tony Gonsolin, and even David Price coming back after sitting out last season due to COVID. That team looks really strong. Top to bottom, their lineup looks like an all-star team. One other team I wanted to highlight with some new faces is the New York Mets. They get two key pieces via the Cleveland Indians. You see Francisco Lindor, the shortstop, Carlos Carrasco, the starting pitcher. They're both on their way to New York. Lindor has a career batting average of .285, really strong glove at that shortstop position. And Carrasco had his best season of his career last year, coming back just 2 years off of recovering from leukemia. He's such a great story for the Mets, and I think they have a chance to really shine in a division that includes the Nationals fading back a little bit, and the Braves, who are obviously the class of the NL East right now. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about coming off of 2020 is we saw a number of temporary rule changes, things that were put in place to speed up the game or put a little bit less stress on players as they quickly ramped up for what was just a 60-game season. So, Braden, tell me, which of those rule changes would you like to see stick around or come back in a future year?
I think you said it, come back. I think the one rule change I was really excited about last year was the universal DH. If we're being honest, nobody really likes to watch a pitcher hit. It's a lot of bunting, it's a lot of strikeouts. We much rather see long balls flying, runs scored. So I would really love to see them, they're doing away with this year, but I would really love to see them bring that back and just have a lineup of 9 hitters in a row. However, this season, they are still keeping the runner on second to start the extra innings rule. I think that's a good rule. I think it helps speed up the game. That's been a problem with MLB the past couple seasons. They just drag on 3-4 hour games. With no time limit, you can get into games that are 15, 16 extra innings, and that's really driving away the young population, which they're trying to reach. So I think putting the runner on second, one, it kind of reminds people of their days back in rec ball or so, because I remember playing in innings where we'd start and just end the game. So I think putting that there, making it more situational baseball, making the extra innings a little more pressure-packed will help speed up the game and maybe give more intense battles to finish out the game.
I mean, I like the idea of speeding up the game, but I don't know about putting a runner in scoring position in an MLB game. I think you could look at putting a runner on first base so you have that added incentive to score early on in the extra innings and finish it off quicker, but having that runner in scoring position where just a single at the beginning of the 10th inning can end the game. I'm just not a huge fan of that. I do like what you said about the DH. I think it gives an opportunity for teams to carry a few less hitters, focus on relief pitchers, so because they're not constantly having to pinch hit for those pitchers. And also, it keeps the pitchers a little bit healthier. I think we've seen countless times where a pitcher was injured bunting or running the bases, and for no particular reason. Now, the last thing that I want to speak about with the MLB is some of your bolder predictions and end-of-season predictions, just jumping way ahead. Who do you have in the World Series, potential MVPs and surprise teams?
I won't give you the World Series matchup yet, but I'll give you my my Championship Series matchups. I'll start off a little mild. I think in the NLCS we'll see a repeat of last year. We'll see the Braves and the Dodgers. As we mentioned earlier, the Dodgers just keep reloading, keep adding with that pitching staff, with the hitters lineup. There's no weakness in that lineup. I think the biggest challenger in their division is the Padres, but they're still young. So I think the Dodgers will cruise into the playoffs and make it to that League Series. And I think the Braves, as we also mentioned before, the class of the East, they have been for the past 3-4 years. They have not dropped off. They're coming off. Freddie Freeman's coming off his MVP season. Acuna's still out there. Albies, I think both of those teams will meet again in the Championship Series. When we go to the AL, we get a little bolder. I see the White Sox and the Blue Jays in the ALCS. The White Sox, they're strong, they're young. Blue Jays are strong and young. I think they take this next step this year, especially the Blue Jays with the addition of George Springer. I think they take the next step, make it to that final series.
Now, the Blue Jays are strong. They have that young trio, and they just added George Springer. But there are a couple teams in the MLB that just keep adding stars. The White Sox, probably one of them. The Padres are as well, but they have the Dodgers to compete with. The Dodgers are the best example. But one that I really like is the New York Yankees. They haven't been to the World Series in 12 years. You feel like they've been on that cusp a lot. The whole time that CeCe Sabathia was there, now you're getting into an era of Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and they just have pieces all throughout the lineup, bringing up a guy like Clint Frazier, adding arms like Jameson Taillon and Corey Kluber, and of course, University of South Carolina alum Jordan Montgomery is on that team. I just don't see how in a full 162-game season and the playoffs, any team, whether it's the Blue Jays or the Rays, can compete with the Yankees in that AL East. They are just too strong. Now, I mentioned Jordan Montgomery and Gamecock baseball. I want to shift to Gamecock baseball for just a minute. The team has started off the season 10-0 with some really good wins over Winthrop, Clemson, Dayton, and Mercer, but the schedule gets a lot tougher from here. 8 of their next 11 weekends, they play ranked teams. That all starts this weekend, where they are playing number 19, Texas. After that, they play number 2, Vanderbilt, number 5, Florida, and then later on in the year, they also play Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Ole Miss, who make up the rest of that top 5. So what are realistic expectations for how good this Gamecock team can be, given how difficult the schedule is about to get?
Honestly, I think the sky's the limit for this team if they can combine their two strengths. So at the beginning of the season in their series, we saw them scoring 19 runs and 12 runs back-to-back games and hitting 5-6 home runs a series. And then this past weekend against Mercer, it was pitching. It was strikeouts. The team has 141 strikeouts on the year. I think if they can find a balance where they combine that dominant pitching with dominant at the plate, I think they can go and win the majority of these series. I don't think they can win all the series. It's just, in baseball, you never know what happens. It's one ball could bounce another way, a pitcher could be on or off. It's very hard to sweep series after series after series, especially against top teams like Texas or Vanderbilt or Florida that we have coming up. But I think if they can find that nice solid combination of on-the-mound presence and on-the-plate presence, they can make some noise throughout these series.
I have to agree, but we're looking just 2 years off of when the Gamecocks were just 8-22 in SEC play. They only won a single SEC series on the penultimate weekend of the season, and they didn't even have a full year last year, so that was really their last full season experience. They battled a lot of injuries, and there wasn't a lot of depth in the pitching staff. I think you see a lot deeper pitching staff. 17 pitchers have gone onto the mound for the Gamecocks in these first 10 games. They've combined for a 2.54 ERA. And then on the hitting side, you have Wes Clark, who's batting .471 with 8 home runs. Braylon Wimmer with 4 home runs, Andrew Eister with 3. And the team overall is batting .371, which is extraordinary. I agree the sky is the limit for this team, and I hope we can get back to Omaha for the first time in 9 years. Now that'll do it for us on The Locker Room. For Braden Maloy, I'm Will Kronsberg. Thank you so much for watching.